Welcome, this is Jack from Dog, and today we're going to run through some compression types because we get emails and calls all the time of people struggling to put their headset and their compression systems together. And when you can't do it, it is literally the end of the world. So we're going to make it super easy, explain SES compression, IHC compression and HIC compression. So just to make it really easy, we're going to use the most popular headset that we've got, which is Core. Everyone buys Core headsets, but just to make it super easy, Core like to include everything that you would need for any compression system. So really helpful, but very confusing sometimes because you end up with spare parts. So this is what they call a crown race, which is no longer needed because all of the forks have that built in, so that's fine. You have your two bearings, you have your top cap, and then you have two compression rings which sit in the top of the deck. So one is for IHC, which is the smaller diameter, and one is for HIC and SES, which is the larger diameter. So one bearing on the bottom, one bearing on the top. You've got to make sure that the tapered edge is always facing to the inside of the deck because it matches up with the angle in there. So you pop that one in, put your forks through, and then you can go ahead and put the top bearing on. Now is where you have the difference between IHC and HIC. So HIC, your fork is a bigger diameter. IHC, it's a smaller diameter, which some people call mini HIC, but ignore that. So we're going to go for the smaller diameter one, which goes over the top and slips down into the bearing. So essentially what the compression ring's job is to centralise the fork so that it can properly compress and squeeze your headset together so your scooter's dialed. Now, both IHC and HIC have the same diameter top cap, which goes on slightly different ways. So for IHC, which we're using here, smaller diameter, you put the shim on and then you put the top cap over the shim, and then that fits snug. Finally, cap on the top of the fork, on top of the shim, and then you screw in your compression bolt, which is this one here. Now, something to note about your compression bolt, which is the same for all compression types. This isn't a regular bolt where you would crank it up really tight like you would with a wheel or something like that. You simply want to tighten it up enough so that you can feel some resistance on the forks, but it still spins fairly well. Otherwise, if you crank it up too tight, you can damage the bearings, your bars won't spin very fast, and you just have a bad day at the skate park, to be honest. So just nip that one up. You can always take your bars back off and loosen it or tighten it afterwards. So it's just getting that balance on that one. So we're going to fly through HIC because, as I said, it's pretty much the same. Crown race, bin it, no one uses that anymore. You want one bearing on the bottom, into the deck. Top bearing, crown race, larger diameter for HIC and SES. That slots down, sits in the bearing like that. Now, HIC and SES, top cap goes on first before your shim, sits down nicely like that, and again shim goes on with your cap, compression bolt, and you tighten that one down exactly like you did on the IHC one. So once you get to this stage, you're on the home straight, basically. You're putting your handlebars on. Now for IHC and HIC, you need to ensure that your handlebars have a slit in them. Otherwise, it basically won't tighten around your forks. So bars in the clamp like so, and then handlebars over your compression system. Once your handlebars and your clamp is installed on your scooter, line it up with your front wheel, so you're going in a straight line, and tighten up your clamp bolts. So that is IHC and HIC explained. Very similar compression systems. So let's move on to SES, which is a bit more confusing, to be honest. So, on to SES. As you can see, the clamp looks pretty different to the other ones. It's got 4 bolts, which 95% of SES clamps do. Most IHC and HIC clamps have 2. hence the name double clamp. So now on to assembly. Starts the same way as it did. One bearing on the bottom and into the deck. One bearing in the top, like so, and one compression ring in the top as well. And then because this is the larger diameter, the top cap goes straight over the forks. Now comes your SES clamp. Now it's important to note that the fork does have to come below the ridge in the middle of the clamp. Otherwise you won't be able to, it won't get any compression. So I can see by putting it on, the fork sits slightly above the ridge in the middle. So two options, you can either cut your forks down or you can use headset spacers which essentially sit in between your SES and your top cap, raise the clamp up slightly so you can make the full compression. Bolt through the cap, drop it into the SES. Now with your compression bolt, as normal, tighten it up until your forks feel firm, no rattling around, and then you're good to go. So SES, the bars again are slightly different. Because they don't have that fork that they're clamping around, you can't have a slit. So as you can see, these bars do have a slit, but the good news is that there are products for that. You have a bar insert which goes in the bottom, which essentially closes off the slit so that the SES clamp can tighten properly and your bars stay secure. Now, standard and oversized bars will work with an oversized SES, but if you've got standard bars, like so, you'll need your clamp sleeve, which will come with most clamps and will be in the description, so you'll know. Now, after that, simply your bar adapters in, your shims in if you've got standard bars or out if you've got oversized bars, and then you simply put your bars into the clamp, align with your front wheel and tighten your clamp bolts. Now you know how HRC and IHC and SES goes together, so hopefully you can crack it out at home, but if not, of course, give us a shout. We put these things together all day, every day, so any problems that you may run into, we'll be able to help. And if you like the look of any of the scooters that we've built today, providing you're watching in 2026 and not millions of years in the future, you can actually buy them. These are our dog-approved custom builds and available on the website now. So, thanks. It's been Jack from Dog. As ever, give us a shout if you need anything, and good luck building your scooter.